So we would like to welcome Adrien Théo, third today on the downhill, and Bodie Miller, second. We'll start with Adrien Théo, who will kindly answer us in English. Adrien, I have to say, what a place to get on the podium for the first time of your career, on a downhill podium, number 3. How does that feel? Is it something very special and such a classic?
Yeah, I feel good. It's a great day for me today. My first podium there in Kisbüll is just incredible, unbelievable. So I'm very happy today. It was a nice run for me, very nice. And at the end, third, it's unbelievable. And no words.
Yeah, was it a childhood dream? Did you dream of something like that, like the big classics?
Yeah, my dream it was just to come there, and now to do the race, but not to win, or to do a top 3. And now it's done, so it's perfect. And we will see after for the win, but no, it's just a great day for me today.
Can you tell us a little bit what is the difference now that you're making podiums? You were second in the Super G in Beaver Creek. Now you've got now podiums. What's the difference? What has happened in your mind?
Between the Super G and...
Between last year or the years before and now?
I don't know exactly. I think technically I'm better than the other year, but I don't know. I feel good during this week and before, but today with my baby I thought it was difficult to be on the top 3 or top 5, but no, it's with the 28 today. I think it's a very good race.
Thank you. What we'll do, I'll ask Bodie questions, and then you can ask questions, and then we'll wait for Didier. Bodie, I think you always choose the best to go on the podium. Last time we saw you on the podium was in Wengen in the Super Combined here. What's the feeling today? A little regrets, or just happy to be second?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy. When I came across the finish line, I thought that I'd skied a good race. I hadn't really left a lot up there. I could have taken more risk, but here, when this course is as difficult as it is this year, taking more risk a lot of times just leads to more mistakes and more risk of death or serious injury. So I was pretty happy with the amount of risk I took and the way that I skied. And you know, you can easily accept when somebody comes down and skis a phenomenal run the way that Didier did. It's happened to me a few times, and I've been second here and second in some other places where, you know, you just more or less take your hat off. You know you skied a great race, and the other person just, you know, took more risk, executed better, and probably had faster skis. So when you add those 3 together, sometimes it looks like a different kind of event. But yeah, I was happy with my race.
Can we say that you're back on track, back at the top?
You guys can say whatever you want. I feel like I've been skiing the same as I have all year. You know, I've had a bunch of top 10s, and you know, the things that separate the top 10 guys right now in downhill, or really in any event, are so small. I mean, it's, you know, if a cloud comes by and it gets dark, you see any of those guys who are in the top 10 today, all of a sudden they're, you know, 15 or 20 or 25, and the same. I mean, you know, in slalom, GS, Super G, I mean, I've been in the top 10, and I felt like I had a decent chance to win a bunch of different races and never really even got on the podium. So, you know, I was happy to have at least nothing really went wrong for me today. You know, everything was, I had great light, I had great skis, I skied well myself, and the only thing that stopped me from being on the top was that Didier skied better. So,
you would say perfect execution today?
No, I mean, you know, I made mistakes, and having one training run is really not very easy for me, because I skied so, I mean, after watching the crash of Kruger, I think a lot of the guys that affects you in the start. I think a lot of guys took it much more cautious in that training run. And then for that to be our only training run, and then go in and try to have big intensity for the race, that's a big challenge, because you know, it's such a big difference. And you know the consequences of the mistake, or of overextending yourself. So can sometimes be really catastrophic here. So, you know, I definitely backed off too much in some areas, and didn't execute the very best in some areas, but I'm not sure that had I executed perfectly today that my plan even would have beat Didier. I just think he took more risk. He was willing to take more risk, and he executed his plan almost perfectly. So, I think it was fine for me to be second.
So we would like whoever wants to ask a question. The only thing, please put your hand up so we can give you the microphone. It's very important that we have the microphone because the people down in the press room are listening to us. So who would like to start?
Nobody. Perfect.
You know who's going to say something.
Well, I know we're always happy to see you, to talk to you, Body. Congratulations. Tell us about being especially inspired by big classics like Bang and Kitzbühel, and also what went through your mind when you watched the run on Ivica Kostelic? He seemed to have done a smart race yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a natural progression as you get to be my age. You've raced as many races as I have. It just, you don't get as excited for a World Cup, and there's a certain amount of fear associated with World Cup downhill, especially on any track, and more so on this track than any other one. And if you're not willing to get really excited and enthusiastic and really respond to it, that fear kind of affects your tactics and affects the way that you ski. And these big races, it's easier, I would say, the World Championships, the Olympics, Kitzbühel, Wengen. You have a little bit extra motivation, but it definitely is balanced a bit by the danger factor or the fear factor also. And like I said, having one training run and watching some really horrific crashes and having it be pretty challenging conditions this year, I would say that, like I said, normally I wouldn't get to the finish and know that I had made a little bit too cautious of choices here, because normally I'm so excited that I just go pretty much wide open and make too many mistakes. But this year, like I said, it was a little bit critical, so I did err on that side.
And the run from Kostelic yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, he skis, he's been one of my favorite skiers for years. I mean, I've skied against him since, I don't know, 10 years or so, more. But the way that he wins is a lot different than the way that I win. He skis really consistently, top to bottom, no mistakes ever. He really is conservative with his tactics a lot of times, but he makes unbelievably accurate decisions and then executes those decisions perfectly. And it was when we watched him yesterday, when we watched him start that, he was pretty early in the run. Nobody thought that was going to be the winning run, because you saw places where he clearly backed off. He slid the skis sideways a few times. He doesn't tuck, in some cases as much as everybody else, and he's a little bit rounder in some places. He almost never cuts off the line and goes straighter. And you just had to assume that somebody was gonna make it work. But he's got great skis and he's really fit. And like I said, he makes no errors at all, not even small little hiccups. And I was really happy personally to see him win a Super G, because I've said for years and years that he's, in my opinion, the best overall skier, one of the best overall skiers on the World Cup, and he's never really had a chance because of his injuries and the Croatian team being so strong in slalom and GS. He hasn't really had a chance in speed, but I think you're going to see him obviously doing more.
More questions?
Yes, Buddy. Just a question about your Super G yesterday. You seemed to be quite upset or angry. Why?
No, I was faking it. I was happy. I was mad. I made a decision the day before. I raced on the same skis yesterday as today, and we had one training run, and I ran that training run on them, and they were fast. In the training run, I took it really easy and was still pretty quick. So I decided to run on those in the Super G, and it was a poor choice, I think, in hindsight. The speeds were so slow for a Super G, and without any speed, it's hard to make the downhill skis turn. And I kept falling inside and just really making mistakes and errors that I would hope that I'm better than that, and I wasn't yesterday. And it was a good chance for me to win this Super G here also, and I just executed so poorly. Even with my skis were up really fast, they just didn't make it easier for me to make all those really slow speed turns. And yeah, about halfway down, I was really pissed off already when I put my head through that gate and almost hooked the tip. You know, I was pretty much, I didn't care if I was finishing or not finishing at that point. I just wanted to keep hitting gates really hard, and I don't know.
Yesterday there was an interesting discussion about safety as usual, you know, on the slopes. Between one skier who said, leave it the downhill demanding and challenging, and somebody else saying, you know, when an accident like the one from Google happened, you should shape the top and, you know, react and make it, you know, a little less dangerous. So what are the downhillers looking for? You know, for excitement, you know, do you think it's going in the wrong direction, being sometimes too dangerous?
No, I mean, I don't know how many other racers believe the same thing, but I believe that you have to leave it up to the athlete to choose their tactics, like what happens here, more or less. But I think the athletes are at a disadvantage when they come against a course like the Strife, because they're used to being able to go out of the start gate and go 110%, absolutely full throttle the whole way, and hopefully make it work. But if it doesn't work, if their ability isn't good enough, or they make a stupid choice and they crash, they're used to having the nets be very forgiving and having all the protection they need everywhere. And so there really is no risk management on the part of the athlete, or very little risk management. And I think when you come up against a hill like this, all of a sudden, and you're used to doing that, where you just go out of the start gate and go 100%, and if you crash, you just slide over and bump into the fence. And this course chews you up real bad if you make bad choices. And you know, when I watched the old races where there was just hay bales on the side and then trees, or picket fences and then trees, you see that the athletes are forced to make tactical decisions and risk management decisions that are critical to their life, their safety. And they make those choices consciously, and they decide what they're willing to risk and what they're not willing to risk, and what their ability will allow them to do and what their ability will not allow them to do. And all those decisions have real consequences right then in real life. And I think that's one of the things that makes ski racing so great and downhill so great in the past. And I think it's being lost now as we make it more and more. The safety equipment is all so perfect that the decision for risk management doesn't come down to the athlete anymore. Every athlete is taking, on most of the courses, we're all taking maximum risk, and nobody really has to back off, because it's not worth it. If you back off, you automatically know 50 other guys are going to not back off, and you're just giving it away. You're better off to take the risk and hope you don't get hurt when you crash, and most of the time you don't. So it's only a few courses that are really, really unforgiving when you crash. So, I mean, in my mind, I think, you know, when you see guys skiing big mountain, when they drop big cliffs, or when those guys make decisions about what they can and can't do. And sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. If you make that consistent, then the athletes have responsibility for what they do. And if you don't make it consistent, which is where we are right now, I think it can be really challenging for the athletes, because they don't take responsibility, really. If they get hurt, it's like, well, that's why. I mean, the course was too fast. Then slow down. I mean, it's not the course that's too fast. It's your ability wasn't matched up for how fast you were going on the course. And I think the big turns, the problem right now is how big the turns are. And our equipment just keeps getting better and better. And the turns are so big, we get so much force and so much power. And if you're having to turn off of jumps like is the top of Kitzbühel right now, that I think becomes really dangerous. That's just really tough.
Bodhi, can I just, I think, are you going to do you ski the slalom tomorrow?
I don't know. Depends on how tonight.